5,000 years ago, a city stood here. Streets laid out in perfect grids. Plumbing more advanced than ancient Rome's. A population in the tens of thousands. Then, nothing. No war. No siege. No mass graves. Just silence. What if an entire civilization didn't fall? What if it simply stopped? This is Mohenjo-Daro, one of the largest cities of the ancient world, built along the Indus River in what is now Pakistan. It flourished more than 4,500 years ago, at the same time as the pyramids of Egypt and the early cities of Mesopotamia. But Mohenjo-Daro wasn't just old. It was strange, because it was advanced in ways that seem almost impossible for its time. Nearly every home had access to a covered drainage system, a sewage network more sophisticated than anything Europe would build for another 3,000 years. At the city's center stood a massive public bathing structure, waterproofed with bitumen, wrapped in brick, a space historians believe was used for ritual, not just hygiene. There were granaries built to feed thousands. Standardized weights and measures used across the entire region. And streets laid out on a precise grid, as if the entire city had been planned before a single brick was placed. They even had writing, a script found on hundreds of small clay seals. A script that, to this day, no one has been able to fully translate. This wasn't a primitive settlement. This was one of the most sophisticated urban civilizations on Earth. And at its peak, it simply went quiet. When archaeologists began excavating Mohenjo-Daro in the 1920s, they expected to find the usual signs of a city's end: battle damage, burned structures, mass graves. They didn't find that. Instead, they found something quieter. And in some ways, more unsettling. Household items left behind. Pottery still in place. Tools resting where they were last used, as though people expected to return. A small number of skeletal remains were found scattered across the site, not in graves, not arranged with any ritual care. For decades, this fueled a dramatic theory, that Mohenjo-Daro had been destroyed in a sudden, violent invasion. That theory, often called the Aryan invasion hypothesis, was popular through much of the 20th century. But modern archaeology has largely moved away from it. The skeletal evidence doesn't show the kind of trauma expected from a violent conflict. And there's no evidence of a rival army, weapons, or warfare on the scale needed to end a civilization this large. So if it wasn't war, what was it? Mohenjo-Daro's survival depended entirely on the Indus River system. And its neighbor, a river that ancient texts call the Sarasvati, believed by many researchers to correspond to the now dry Gagarhakra riverbed. Geological studies suggest that around the time the Indus Valley cities began to decline, this river system was shifting, possibly drying up, possibly changing course due to tectonic activity and changing monsoon patterns. Without water, farming would have collapsed. Without farming, a city built for tens of thousands could not sustain itself. Climate researchers have also pointed to a broader shift in monsoon patterns across South Asia during this period. A drying trend that affected multiple Indus Valley settlements, not just Mohenjo-Daro. This is one of the reasons modern archaeologists don't believe in a single dramatic collapse, but something slower. A gradual decline, as trade routes weakened, as farming yields dropped, and as people migrated elsewhere in search of water and stability. Some researchers have also proposed disease as a contributing factor, citing evidence in skeletal remains of infections that may have spread more easily as the city's advanced sanitation systems began to fail alongside its water supply. There likely wasn't one single cause. Most modern archaeologists believe Mohenjo-Daro's end was the result of several pressures arriving at once: environmental, agricultural, and social, compounding until the city could no longer sustain itself. Not a fall. A fade. Even now, nearly a century after excavation began, Mohenjo-Daro keeps its full story hidden. Its written language remains undeciphered. We know how its people built, but not fully how they thought, governed, or understood their own world. Every few years, new research adjusts the timeline. New sediment studies. New skeletal analysis. New satellite data mapping the ancient river systems beneath the desert. The picture keeps changing, because this isn't a solved mystery. It's an ongoing one. What we do know is this: a city that once housed tens of thousands of people, with plumbing, planning, and writing far ahead of its time, faded from history so quietly that it took modern archaeology nearly 4,000 years to even remember it existed. Somewhere beneath the dust of the Indus Valley, the full story of Mohenjo-Daro is still buried. Maybe it always will be. But maybe that's what makes it worth remembering. A reminder that even the most advanced civilizations are never guaranteed permanence. If this kind of hidden history interests you, there are more cities like this one still waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe if you'd like to find them with me.